There is major unrest unfolding in Iran, and it's grabbing the world's attention. So let's get right into it and break down what's happening on the ground and why this moment could be so pivotal for the entire region.
And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of what's different this time. What started as anger over the economy, well, it's morphed into something else entirely. The shouts on the street are now a fundamental challenge to the government itself. That's a huge shift.
So to really understand the scale of what we're all witnessing, we have to look at how a single spark of economic frustration managed to ignite a fire that has just swept across the entire nation. It all kicked off in late 2025. And what's interesting is it didn't begin as some big political movement. Nope. It started with merchants, with shopkeepers in the Grand Bazaar. That's the commercial soul of Iran's capital. And from there, it just spread.
And let's be clear, this isn't about some abstract political theory. This is about the daily struggle to survive. We're talking about inflation that's just through the roof, a currency in total freefall, and a cost of living that is crushing ordinary people. This is the economic hardship that has pushed people to the brink.
So as the protests got bigger and more intense, the government's response was, well, maybe predictable, but the severity of it has been shocking. It was incredibly swift, and it was brutal.
The human cost has been absolutely staggering. It's hard to even wrap your head around. While we don't have official numbers, independent observers are reporting tens of thousands of deaths. It's just a devastating toll, and it really shows you the intensity of this crackdown. The authorities, well, they've rolled out a pretty clear playbook to try and get control. First, deadly force on the streets. Second, control the information by shutting down the internet across the country. Makes it way harder for protesters to organize. And third, push a narrative through state media that this is all the work of foreign-backed saboteurs, not genuine anger from their own people.
But here's where it gets a little more complex. This isn't a simple story of just the people versus the state. To really get what's going on, you have to look at the deep divisions and the very different voices inside Iran's political world.
And that divide is just stark. On one side, you've got President Pezeshkian's government. They're out there blaming external actors and rioters. But at the same time, they're promising economic reforms. Then on the other side, you have these figures in exile, like Reza Pahlavi, who are calling for more protests and a total overthrow of the system. Two completely different worlds.
Now, what happens in Iran never just stays in Iran. This crisis is not contained. The shockwaves are already being felt all over the globe, and international powers are being forced to pick a side and react. The diplomatic fallout is escalating fast. You've got the United States openly backing the protesters and talking about more pressure. The European Union has taken action against Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and Iran immediately fired back, labeling EU militaries as terrorist groups. All the while, the neighboring countries in the region are nervously trying to cool things down, just desperate to avoid a bigger war.
And this is really the bottom line for the rest of us. Analysts are basically shouting from the rooftops that if the government in Iran fundamentally changes, the consequences could be enormous. We're talking about potentially destabilizing the entire Middle East and sending shockwaves through global energy markets.
So to understand how we even got to this point, we have to rewind the tape. Today's crisis didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's the culmination of decades of pressure and key events.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. It starts, of course, with the 1979 revolution. Then you jump to 2018, when the US pulls out of the nuclear deal and sanctions just start hammering the economy. On top of that, you have a very costly military conflict with Israel in 2025. You add all that up, and you have the perfect storm for the massive protests we're seeing today. In the end, this quote really sums it all up, doesn't it? This moment is about so much more than any one thing. It's this powerful, raw expression of deep, widespread frustration with everything. The government, the lack of basic rights, and the total collapse of the economy.
And that leaves us with this one huge final question. We are watching a potentially historic moment unfold right before our eyes. Is it possible that what we're seeing could be the most significant geopolitical shift in the Middle East since the revolution that created modern Iran? It's an incredible thought, and honestly, only time is going to tell.